get to do that. I get to do that once a time. Well, normally they're not too rowdy, so. Anyways, welcome everybody. Small crowd tonight. Must be a small agenda, I don't know. Got some interesting things on it though, I must say. Call to order and disclosure any pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Has anybody got any? Oh. Okay. We have no closed session, no convene to open. Moved by Councillor Colwell, second by Councillor Turton. The minutes of the September 2nd, 2014 council meeting be approved as circulated. All in favor? Carried. Additional items disclosed. I have a couple. Anybody else got any?
Or a couple.
Kerry?
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Dave? Okay. And if anybody has one later, let me know.
There's always something.
There's always something comes up. We have no public meetings. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fisk, second by Councillor Caldwell. The Town of Minto Council convenes in the Committee of the Whole. Is that right? All in favor? Right. Okay. And now we have delegations. So I don't see Mary Lou here yet, so maybe we'll start with Louisa, if you'd like to come up.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yep. And Louise is the Director of Child Care Services, County of Wellington, Palmerston Daycare, and this is a great success story, and I'm glad Louisa could take some time, and I think it's a well-guarded secret almost. People don't really know about it, so it's nice that you're here today.
No, I think thank you very much for inviting me and allowing me to speak. I think the TP that is now...
Just move that mic towards you a little bit, that's it, yep.
I think the TP has attracted some attention, so I thought this was a good opportune time to kind of let you know what happened, you know, at Palmerston Child Care Center, and, you know, that it actually is a good news story for child care. And it comes at a good time because I think, you know, definitely for us, we will be looking at child care a little bit harder and coming out with our new service plan in 2015. So we do plan on presenting to County Council about the importance of child care. And it's also become quite evident that people think that because they don't have children that it's not something that they need in their community. So we're starting to, you know, advocate a little bit on that and give you a good picture of what child care is all about. So this is a story of a journey that the County of Wellington went on to ensure that there is stable and high quality licensed childcare available in the town of Minto, and specifically in Palmerston. That's what the center looks like now, and I believe this is a building that you own.
Yep.
So we were happy to work with that. And again, as I was saying, sustainable childcare in Minto has been an ongoing priority in our child care services plan. Sorry, I'm at that age where I need my glasses to read and I don't need them to look. So basically, for several years, we've identified that Minto is a high priority area in licensed child care. And that's combined with issues of higher rates of child and family poverty, higher proportion of low-income households, and reports of limited access to transportation made Minto of interest to us, and from an early childhood education and social supports perspective. With some of the latest StatsCan analytic reports that we use in the 2011 census, we're aware that upwards of 90% of the women were involved in the workforce, and some they're on benefits when they go on maternity leave. So that tells us that about 90% of the women are in the workforce. We have always typically used a percentage of about 70%. So with the so we have 155 children from the age of birth to 4 years old, which is with the modernization of childcare, we are told that that's what we have to focus on right now. We do provide subsidies to children from birth to the age of 12, but our system is we have to stabilize the system from birth to 4 years old. And so you can see of 155 children, Palmerston now has 13 spaces, so that's only 8%. So when you're looking at about 70% of the women at minimum in the workforce, and you know, if you use the Canadian census, it's 90%. These people need somewhere to put their children.
Mm-hmm.
Coupled with that, all three cycles of the early development instrument that we use for systems planning at the County of Wellington Kindergarten in Minto have had the highest vulnerability in one or more of the developmental domains of their in development, and so the EDI looks at 5 domains. And there's been a higher portion of these children in Minto who are considered developmentally at risk, and that means that they are in line for potential school failure than the other areas in Wellington. And early childhood research strongly supports that this is a level of risk experienced by the children in Minto is related to a shortage of consistent and high quality early childhood programming in the area. And when I say early programming, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be licensed childcare. What we found that makes a difference in the children's development is that there's some sort of consistent participation in an early childhood programming. So if they're involved in a drop-in program at the local Ontario Early Years programs, or there's the bus that comes and parents are continually involving their children in those sort of systems, and there's people there that understand child development and are able to make those referrals on for those children, that also impacts. So it's not just licensed childcare. However, licensed childcare is something that we've been able to evaluate. Participation in OAYCs, parents who choose to keep their children at home, or parents that are using other caregivers, licensed or unlicensed, it's been almost impossible to actually measure the impact of those. So that's why we have a lot of data on licensed childcare. It's not to say or evaluate that the other things are good or bad. We just don't have the data on that. And so back, I think it was last year, I think Minto experienced the perfect storm in childcare. They had the highest vulnerability rate according to the EDI. And I've asked time and time again, why aren't we putting a child care center in every single township in the County of Wellington? Believe me, that is my ultimate goal before I retire, is to see that happen. Yeah. But we know that there's a lot of capital funds that are necessary in order to do that. So, and that's why Minto was something that we acted on, was because it is one of the highest priority areas in our service delivery area. And there was only one full-time, full-year child care center, and it was really struggling to deliver a high-quality child care program, and they were financially at risk of closure. And so we wanted to ensure as well that we understood that should there ever had been a lapse where that child care program closed at that location, the Ministry of Education may not have opened up another child care center in that building. So what we needed to do was find a strategy to take that over and not have that center close and us pick up basically within hours. So we actually applied for a license and got a license within 2 weeks of actually saying that we wanted to do that. I think TLC stopped operation on Friday, we picked up on Monday. So there was absolutely no break in service for the families. And this I want to say is positive partnerships and effective collaboration coupled with a lot of determination and creativity. And I would really personally like to say, to thank Mary Lou Caldwell, who was on the board of directors at that time, and Mayor Bridge, who brought the whole situation to my attention, and to sit down with the board of directors where the vulnerability and the closure was, and having the mayor and a councillor in the room is an unbelievable support that community could ask for, because it was the determination of them and the Ministry of Education also really working with us to say we don't want the center to close. We're going to do everything that we can to open that up. So I think that's why the spaces are still there, and that's something that we want to work on in childcare business. Not just the councils, but also some businesses in the community also need to to be part of childcare. So the County of Wellington took it over in September of last year, and so we have directly operated programs have proven to be the most stable source of licensed childcare in vulnerable communities. We have a center of 36 spaces up in Mount Forest, and we also are now opening up Willowdale Childcare. I'm going to flip back to here, that we had a unique opportunity. The reason for that unique opportunity was the closure of Willowdale, and we weren't 100% positive that we were going to open up. So this is where we had just that little snippet of possibility that should Willowdale not open up, where were we going to invest those funds in a directly operated program? Minto was on our priority list, so we acted on that. And now it seems that Willowdale will be opening hopefully by the end of this calendar year. So. And we've had 18 months to figure out how to afford both.
Yes.
So, and our policies, our program designs, and practices reflect the most current research in early childhood education. We also have a strong history of zero reject when it comes to children with special needs. We don't believe that children have, although we acknowledge that they have special needs and they have disabilities, we see that as, here's a child, here's what they bring to the table, here's what we have to work with, and we work with it and with the family. We don't assess to say, well, Johnny might be a little bit too difficult to handle on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock because this, that, and the other, because he needs to be tooth fed or whatever. We say he needs to be tooth fed at 2 o'clock, how are we gonna make that happen? And these full-time, full-year stable, high-quality spaces are an important foundation for the continuum of effective early childhood services. And there's going to be an introduction of Best Start Child and Family Centers, so it's really important that we have licensed childcare be part of that. It also means that every person working in the center earns an early childhood professional level wage. On average in Ontario, an ECE will make about $30,000 a year. The average in the County of Wellington is about $28,000 a year. If that was a single support like if it was a single mother with 3 children, she's basically living below the low income cutoff. And if it's a 2-parent family earning that amount of money, they would qualify for a fee subsidy at $3 a day. So there is an ECE working in the child care programs who they themselves would qualify for fee subsidies at $3 a day. And the County of Wellington, we're just hiring our full-time spaces and, full-time positions for Palmerston and Willowdale, and the rate, the starting rate with us is $49,000 a year plus benefits and vacation time and sick time. So when you're looking at the $30,000 a year that most ECEs make, that's not including any sick time or vacation time or anything like that with no benefits at all. So they struggle. So this is Palmerston Child Care Center. There's the teepee that is now, I think, their little token where we have children that come by with their parents, and the parents are saying, can I just please come in and visit the child care program because my child is saying I want to go into the building, and then they don't want to leave. So that, I think that's the best marketing tool, just put a teepee out there. It was a little bit bigger than we thought it was going to be, but it served us well. So we have 5 spaces for toddlers and 8 spaces for preschoolers. We did reduce the amount of time or spaces that we had at the other center, and that was because the supervisor had no office. And so part of the Day Nurseries Act is that you need to have an office and you need to have a rest area for your staff. And so we've tried to put that in there. We took off a little bit of the toddler room, and that's why we went down to 5 toddlers instead of 10. Again, that's where you're investing in your staff and making sure that they have what they need. We've experienced already a positive impact in healthy development of the children in Minto who attend the program. There's been a lot of referrals being done, and we're up to full capacity within a year, which is really good. I thought I'd share some pictures. I don't know if you've ever been in the old center, but we totally remodeled the inside of the program. And again, these were funds that were set aside for other child care programs that didn't end up using the funds, so we were able to put that into Minto. So we totally did the floors, the walls. The kitchen had already been done with health and safety funds. We got new equipment and everything like that into the program. So this is the preschool room. And that's the other side of that. And this is the toddler room here. So you can see it's all very modernized, very warm and welcoming. You don't see the bright blues, the yellows and the greens, which is the old way of doing things. We were very much embracing the natural elements into the classroom and putting the children first. And this is basically our child care statement, and one of the primary reasons why I wanted to come and present to you tonight, and why it should matter to everyone in your community. And like any other business, child care does have a place when it comes to business. So full-time, full-year spaces help families to stay connected in the workforce, and therefore that improves the purchasing power of families. So we did put together a report called The Economic Value of Childcare in 2012. And what that did was starting to look at childcare as a business. Yes, it's a feel-good. The children come, they have fun. You know, it's a warm, welcoming environment. We monitor their development. We positive outcomes for families, but it also has a business impact on the community. It's not just a warm and fuzzy business, and we're really trying to stress that people need to go beyond all of that. And that report is actually used across Canada now, from AMO and OMSA, and Ryerson University also published that and put that out across Canada to childcare professionals and other agencies. So what we did was we demonstrated that, you know, basically for every dollar that we spend, we have an economic output about $2.27 is the multiplier effect. So basically, what that means is that in childcare, the goods and services that are your economic output are higher income levels for families, higher rates of high school graduation. Longer term, there's the sustained attachment of the parent to the workforce. There's lower absenteeism amongst workers with small children. Research shows that mothers with small children miss an average of 10 days per year, and that absenteeism from work is connected to child illness and the lack of provision with the good fit of their child care needs. Across America, they did a study, and it's in the billions of dollars that manufacturers lose because of families not being able to continue in the workforce the way that they would like to if they have small children. And at its greatest potential, the research has demonstrated that children's participation in high-quality childcare has a positive influenced individuals' health on their cognitive, social, and financial status even 40 years later. So we're basically encouraging families and young children to actually produce, you know, turn into a more healthier adult and one that's also contributing back to society. There's also a formula that economics use to say the purchasing power of families. So the purchasing power of families represents the ability for families to spend their money in their local economy because they're accessing full-time spaces. Only full-time, full-year spaces are counted because they're the only spaces that help families stay connected to the workforce. The formula for determining the purchasing power of families is the number of full-time spaces in the area multiplied by the median family income after tax. So you could see that, you know, we've got, you basically take that and you multiply that, and that's the purchasing power of families. And so when you look at you know, about $50,000 in the area, $500,000 in the area being put back in, and increasing the purchasing power of families, and you connect that with the outcomes, the savings of $133,000, that's quite an investment on an annual basis. That having a full-time childcare program helps in the community. And just to finish off, Dr. Pascal was the person who did the Premier's report in 2009. He said outcomes for children and a healthier and more prosperous society for everybody. And that's something that we've been really, we've taken to heart, and we'll continue to advocate on that with child care services. So that's the story.
Thanks, Louise.
I'd be happy to answer any
I'm
questions.
sure there may
if
be
you
some
have any.
questions. Mary Lou and then Ron.
I just wanted to state two things. I actually had to go to the center today for the first time to pick up some mail, and I just can't get over it. I was in tears when I left when I saw the difference. It's a beautiful center. You've done a wonderful job. I was very proud to live in Minto and to offer that to our parents. The other thing, I just on a personal note wanted to thank Louisa very much. Throughout this transition, you have no idea what this girl went through.
A few Saturdays.
Quite a few Saturdays. She went over and above. We had a board of directors in Minto that had a love for the center, but it was difficult to accept that financially it just was not feasible, and that we weren't able to provide the child care that these children needed because of financial and legislative demands that we couldn't meet. And we can't thank the county enough for assisting us in being able to maintain this quality of daycare in our town, because they really stepped up. And as I say, Louisa personally, nights and Saturdays, met with our board to help us go through the transition, and I sure thank her.
Ron?
Yes, Louisa, I'm
under the perfect storm of childcare, I'm curious to know what criteria is used to have Minto designated as a high vulnerable area, and how often is the study completed so that you're not always designated vulnerable? Is that a fair question?
I guess, well, the EDI would be the one that would suggest that, you know, the children have a more, you know, percentage of vulnerability. So I guess the thing is.
Okay, what's the definition of vulnerability?
Vulnerability is looking at the different areas of development in children and seeing whether or not they might be not quite what they're, you know, what the assessment would say that a child should be at when it comes to speech and social and emotional things. I think when we do this, I mean, this is an Ontario-wide, you know, it's a validated tool that they use. And I guess what's very important about that is it's validated at its highest level. So as soon as you start to break down the different areas of development and things like that, it starts to lose its validity. But what that is just to say, this is an area where you need to start having conversations about. This is an area where, you know, you need to start to see the story behind in that community to see what is going on in there. There's vulnerability in very high income areas. The thing is that it's just for different reasons. So that's what we look at, and we look at the low income cutoffs, we look at the number of spaces that are available. And so every area has vulnerability, but it's to what degree is that, and then whether or not, you know, what kind of services are involved in that, and then we as a planning table for Guelph and Wellington, we have to basically look at what are the stories behind all of that. And for us, it was, so Willowdale is another perfect example of why are we reinvesting, you know, money back in Willowdale. Well, it is another area. It's a Better Beginnings, Better Futures area. There's a lot of immigrants into that area. It's typically low income as well. So we start to look at the stories behind that. We try to inject some universal systems in order for children to participate in all of that. So I'm not
So
sure.
just to follow up on that, if I might, Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor, in respect to that, I'm a great believer in looking for the cause of the disease.
Yeah.
And instead of bandaging, try and find a cure. So do you see, being as this is a county project, if I might use that term, do you see our involvement in looking for?
Absolutely. I think that, number one, having access to licensed childcare to meet the needs of the community. I mean, you're sitting at about 8% right now. You have 155 children there. Not all of them will need licensed childcare, but I would say that councils need to be involved in working with us as well as other partners to see what kind of services can we bring in to that community for family support systems as well as childcare. So I would say a partner in it, not responsible for it, but a partner in it.
Yeah. Terry and then Ron.
Yes, you used the figure 8% of, I believe, the children in the town of Amherston. Is that correct?
You have 155 children, you have 13 spaces.
Yeah. So how does that compare to the other municipalities in Wellington County as far as a percentage goes and services that provided?
It's, it varies. I think across Wellington County as a whole, we're sitting at about 6%. In the city of Guelph, we're looking at about 16%. And it varies all the time because there's new childcare programs that open and close, and so we look at all of that. But there are municipalities within the county that have no licensed childcare at all. So you're ahead of the game when it comes to other ones, for sure. You know, Centre Wellington has a lot of childcare spaces there. There's a lot of for-profit and non-profit operators that are there. But the further north you move, the less you see. So there was a program in Arthur that ended up closing down because the enrollment went down with the introduction of full-day kindergarten. So there was the potential for there, but that board of directors couldn't hang on long enough to stay financially viable, so they ended up closing it. But rural areas are very difficult for a for-profit and a non-profit operator to to stay, you know, in the business. So they tend to close down. And that's another huge factor when it comes to the vulnerability rate, is because to sustain that type of childcare program, when you have transportation issues, when you have less ECEs in the field, they have to get to work and things like that, it's more difficult.
The other thing is, you mentioned something about traceability. Do you actually follow these children as they leave early childhood education to see how they do when they get into grade school? Because we have a problem here as well with our public schools scoring lower than most on the provincial testing. And it would be very interesting to know that these 13 children, if you could follow them to see if there was an improvement in their ability to do those tests
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah. Right now, there isn't that possibility to do that. You know, the movement to put childcare now with the Ministry of Education, I think starts to open those doors a little bit. I don't think we're there yet, but we are looking at those children, and hopefully one day down the road, we'll see them as one continuum, and we can start to, you know, follow them. We don't have like an EQAO system in childcare, but now we're starting to look at developmental screens and using them universally. But then it's that, let's talk to each other, like here's a child that was in childcare, and how did they do in school? That would be a really great longitudinal study to do. One day, hopefully, we're getting closer to that, but one day, hopefully, it'll happen.
Well,
I think what you just said there and what we talked about at AMO was the fact that we're getting that, your childcare is going with the Ministry of Education. That is a big move. I mean, that should have been all along, but good point. Ron?
Your criteria for choosing your children or your families that get involved, are there boundaries involved? Like, is the criteria first boundaries based, like geography, or secondly, is it on a need basis? What is your first priority? Is it somebody applies first, so they get in first, or how do they do that?
Well, mostly we had the children that were already attending, so they stayed with us. We didn't start fresh with our enrollment or anything like that. We just transfer the documents over. But other than that, it's typically first come, first serve. They need to be a resident of the County of Wellington first. And basically that's what we do, and then it's just, do we have the space that the parent needs? So if they have a toddler, but we're filled with toddler spaces, then they would go on a wait list, and when the space became available, they would come in.
So you have a wait list and pick that criteria as applied, sort of thing, not necessarily as needed.
Right.
David?
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I agree with all this stuff that's been said, and I really think that, I mean, I was on the Small Angels board for a little while, a number of years ago, and this community really worked hard to try and keep that open, and I'm really glad that the county has taken it over. But my question is, 13 children, is it the size of the building that's dictating that, or is there room for expansion, or when's that happening?
It is the size of the building, and one of the main reasons why, although it's very small and very costly to operate a child care program for 13 spaces, for me, what I wanted to make sure is that we kept our foot in the door. And so as soon as you start to become absent in a community when it comes to that, if you have a foot in the door, no matter how small the child care program is, you know, that continues to stay on your radar, and you look for growth. And definitely, I would say that Palmerston is an area where you could have the same as you do up in Mount Forest, with the number of young children that you have, and that would be 6 infant spaces, 10 toddler spaces, and 16 preschool spaces. We could easily accommodate that. As far as the need goes in Palmerston, we would see that as being viable. Unfortunately, right now, it's the space, it's capital. We need capital funds to start building childcare programs and understanding how we can use our childcare allocation from the province just to directly operate the childcare programs ourselves.
So the 13, the mix, is it mainly Palmerston? Is there others coming in from other areas like Harrison, Clifford, Drayton? wherever, or do you keep
I
that
can
staff?
find that out for you. I don't know the exact enrollment as to where all the children are coming from. I would suspect that most of them are from Palmerston.
Because it's great to have, for the parents, the parents of these young kids, to have a spot to take them, drop them off every morning. Have the faith in the system,
Yeah.
to know that the kids are gonna be there and happy and in one piece, I guess, when they pick them up at 4 o'clock or
Yeah.
5 o'clock, so it's wonderful.
And it speaks to like the broader issue of childcare is that it's left in a patchwork system of for-profit and nonprofit operators who can or cannot make it. And when you have, municipalities step forward and say, this is a viable program, we're gonna deliver it, we know that we'll have the outcomes. The research supports, like when you're talking about following those children, that hasn't been done yet, but the evidence shows that when you have licensed childcare, high-quality licensed childcare in a community, the outcomes for those children are greater. So that has been researched, and it's been proven without a doubt that it does have a positive impact in general. If we're not tracking children, but the outcomes for children have definitely been measured across Canada, and they're saying if you have high-quality licensed childcare, you have better outcomes for children and families.
Thanks, Louisa. And just before you go, I just want to say, and I think they've seen your passion. We see it all the time at the county level. And if Louisa had the budget, she'd have a lot more childcare. She'd have it everywhere. And I'm an economic development person, and I totally agree with you. It certainly makes numbers sense. And we've had those little battles with the treasurer on different things. But you certainly, with money that you have been given available to, you've done a great job. And I will add my comments to Councillor Caldwell that those Saturday morning meetings with the Board of Directors and some real emotional times, you were a rock there, and you didn't have to come up. And I think when it points out the fact that that report that you wrote is now used across Canada, I believe, you're an expert in this, and Wellington County is very lucky to have you on board.
Well, I would say I'm the product of a great team that works for the county, and you ask the questions, you get the answers, and you can put together some pretty good stuff. So
Well, thank you very
the
much
team
for
at
your
the county of Wellington.
help on this one. Okay. Should I move my? Hey, Mary Lou, if you wanted to come up, or were you just wanting to talk to your letter, or were you wanted to say something?
I had a map that I dropped.
Okay. Yep. Well, come on up and.
Oh, I had a little piece of plastic and
Okay. It's Mary Lou Reynolds, and she's going to talk about the Gibson severance we've been looking at, everybody. So if you got that, they were given a copy. Oh, you have a bigger map. Good. There you go.
But she's married. Yeah, she's married.
Just grab the mic.
It's the mic. We need.
Grab the mic.
Yeah. Trevor's going to talk. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the nice mess out there, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
want
tomorrow they're putting the, what did you say, Brian? Something going in tomorrow. Styrofoam blocks. I'm going to go out and watch it go in. Maybe Jane will be out there. We'll watch it together.
So what we want to do, Dad
Oh, you have to use that mic. Just hold on to it. You
Even
can
though
hold
you
it
don't
up.
want to.
yeah.
Well, just that it's on television.
We were gonna do proposing to do a severance. Dad wants to preserve and keep the brickyard.
Mhm.
To do that, we want to go right to the lot line, which is gonna create 3 parcels. To go through the brickyard, the reason for doing it is the brickyard looks like this.
Mhm.
So if we go right to the lot line, which is gonna leave a
So
parcel
Brickyard
here.
is the river, if I just.
It actually
so
was a
that I
brickyard. They
Yes.
made, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where the creek goes through. So it would leave a parcel here, and then Dad's house in the brickyard here. We know that by going all the way to the lot line, we're gonna create 3, but there's no way to get from this one to that one without going through the pictures that we have. I don't know if you wanna take them up. Back here in this part, all of the land is secondary agricultural. And in the part that's left back here, it's, quite a bit of it is ANSI, which means it's natural scientific interest, yeah. So that's kind of what we want to do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just want to know if you guys are,
Well, then I'm going to get some questions now if you want.
You live over here, correct?
Mom and Dad, my sister lives on the one side.
Oh, your sister lives
Yeah,
over
I'm,
there.
yeah, Glennis is
Oh,
over there,
okay.
and Mom and
Okay.
Dad are on the other side.
So, and your mom and dad are right up here?
Yeah, right on the bend of the road.
Right here? So with this parcel here, we're the three different lots. I can understand your mom and dad's place. I understand that one. And then you got the brickyard. So what's the purpose back here then? This is all part of the brickyard?
That's all part of the brickyard,
Okay.
right back to the
And
lot
where's
line.
the third part then?
This would be here, this would be
Oh, I
here,
see,
and then here.
I see. So that would just be the remainder
This-
of
Yeah.
the
This actually
one.
carries-
Oh, okay, fair enough,
Um,
fair enough.
So
You
I
can see
just have
on
it
there if
becomes
you
a
wanna
lot.
Yeah, it becomes,
pick it up.
becomes.
I was wondering too,
the
yeah.
First
acres or
map
whatever.
off,
Okay.
That was my only question. Thank you, sir.
okay. So, that, if you can see.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I think,
Know
yeah, I
exactly
think I
what you
understand it, yep.
You have it there,
Okay.
would be this way, and that
Exactly.
is all your farmland. And this
Exactly.
would actually go back to about here.
Exactly. No, know exactly what
So you'd have to create roads to go in and,
No, there's roads.
roads,
Yeah, there's Bell's Lane, which is a dead-end road back to
Yeah.
one side, and then the road with the bridge across the front and up to the
Okay.
Churchill.
Yep.
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 Any other questions? I think it's pretty straightforward, that. Wait.
Just by way of comment, council did mention that this was where our 16th line bridge is being reconstructed. That plan that's being held up there is the reference plan, a survey that was done, and they did graciously, the family, donate the land upon which the bridge is being expanded on. And we have been working with the family
Trying to
for a
get-
long time here now. So, we're moving forward to the county application.
Yes.
And so I think the family just wanted to present the idea of 3 lots. Technically, in the secondary ag, you're allowed 1 per original parcel. But we've talked about this at length, and it makes so much sense. You really can't get from
Yeah,
A to B
point A to
because
B,
of the,
yeah.
So, yep.
because
So
of
I
the
think
land.
you're just looking for support from us, it has to go to land division, and
Before we go to county, yeah.
has anybody got any concerns? Sounds like it's pretty good.
Thank you for making that clearer for me.
All right.
Thanks for making
Thank
it
you
clear
very
for
much.
me.
Yeah, we could have maybe just sent you over to talk to Ron, but that's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
just tell land division we're all for it.
Yeah, we'll-
Okay.
yeah. Well, we'll be,
And hopefully
We'll
it
get
goes
to
well
it.
tomorrow. I wish I could go out and
You'll
watch.
get a chance to formally comment when
Yeah,
the application
when it
goes
comes
in.
back.
Yeah,
but it's good to come and just tell us about it, and that's
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
And hopefully
excellent.
that bridge
So
gets
just
done.
a question for Bill then. Do I arrange something with Mark Van Patter here, or do we go to Guelph?
I would arrange it here. It's easier for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I will send him an email. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Yep, you can,
Yeah,
yep.
thanks for doing that.
Great, thanks.
Let's hope you don't want it tomorrow.
Okay, and I'll have Kelly Preston. Kelly, you come up. Sorry?
Kelly Stanners.
Oh, well, they got it wrong here. Sorry.
That's Ron's fault.
Well,
Couldn't
I'm just
explain it.
reading my notes.
She is my neighbor.
Yes.
You feed your dog.
Please be very clear on which Ron you're.
Kelly,
Elliot.
you're right. It says standards on the letter at the bottom, but on the top it says the other one. So, sorry,
It's all
applied
good.
my apology.
That's all good.
Okay, Kelly,
all
you
good.
got the floor.
Well, I can safely say I don't have any form of presentation. Primarily what I have come to speak to you about this evening is the zoning bylaw, section 6.28, subsection A, in regards to the parking of school buses primarily on, in a residential area on somebody's driveway. I've recently become a school bus driver, and I, in the last 2 weeks, have discovered how incredibly difficult it is to find somewhere to park without having to drive either to Listowel or to Guelph to the bases. I'm actually based out of Guelph, so for myself, I would have to get my 2 children up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'd have to get them up at 4:30 and be out the door by 5 to get down there so that I could be back in Clifford for 25 to 8, which to me is, we don't get paid the mileage. It's a lot of extra driving that isn't necessary. And right now there is one viable place that I have been parking. However, that spot is so small that when all of the buses are there, we basically have to park on top of each other and then hope that the person behind you doesn't have to get out before you do, or vice versa. And with that particular spot, all the buses, with them being diesel, they need to be plugged in the winter. And there's only 6 spots to plug the buses in at that one spot. It has been mentioned to me about the possibility of parking at the Palmerston Arena. However, the company that I work for has suggested they would prefer we did not, due to there has been a couple of times where somebody has parked there overnight and they've got to their bus in the morning and it has been vandalized, which obviously is a big concern. So I'm not asking to completely strip the bylaw. I'm asking for a reconsideration between Sunday evening and Friday afternoon when our runs are finished, and then we could, whether it be take them to base, that way we're not running back and forth every single day, twice a day, because it's a lot of extra fuel. And for what we make a day, to run back and forth, we'd lose it all in our fuel, and we would sit there at the end of the day and go, well, we helped out with all the kids, but we have nothing to show for it. It doesn't make financial sense. So, like I say, my main goal is to ask if you would at least consider it.
Questions?
Through you, Mayor Bridge, how many buses are we talking?
I believe in the town of Palmerston there are 5 that I know of that we're looking for, because these 5 do not have a sort of set spot. And in regards to the parking, even if it was provided that, with the stipulation that our buses fit in our driveways and do not impede the sidewalk or roadway, if it were that our buses were, we tried it and we went, okay, our buses are too long, then we would be able to hopefully come up with something else, and it would create less congestion at the one spot that we have in Palmerston right now.
Where is that, just out of curiosity? Behind Watts Feed Mill, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right off beside the feed mill. I picked up my bus yesterday and there was 14 buses in there, which, when you've got 14 big buses and nowhere to go, you kind of sit there and go, I hope these guys are leaving soon.
Just a question, go ahead, if you want to.
So are these 14 buses all with the same company? Or?
Ask that.
Yes, those 14 are. There are, like I say, 5 others that we are sort of struggling right now to find a home for, without having to, excuse me, drive back and forth all the time.
And why wouldn't the company that you work for maybe try and help you find a spot, or do what you're trying to do tonight?
That is the spot that they have said, well, we've got these couple of spots, but when you've got 5 additional buses and you can maybe put 2 buses there, then you've got 3 guys going, okay, so what do I do? And I personally know that there are drivers that have given up trying to find a spot to park, and they will park in their driveway, in their road, on the road, because they have really no other option without spending the additional money that we don't get reimbursed for the fuel.
So where would your depot be if you had to go back to Guelph?
Yeah.
So your company doesn't provide spots for you?
not,
The concern we would have, I mean, if we start saying these 3 buses or 4 buses could do it, then somebody come up and say, well, I've got a tractor trailer that I should be able to
oh,
do.
absolutely.
And the reason we don't have it there is there's concerns about pollution and other things.
Oh, absolutely, and I completely understand that. In regards to the pollution, a lot of the buses now, like they're getting rid of the older ones that are the not so nice ones and that create more pollution, and they have become a lot more eco-friendly with their buses. They don't have the great big Cummins diesel in them anymore. They have they are still diesel, however, they have really worked on the eco-friendly part of it.
Through you, Mayor Bridge, I think one of the reasons too may be that the bylaw was line of sight. I could see that being an issue with big buses in people's driveway. You might say it's fine in your yard, but the next driver may not, you know, someone pulling up to a stop sign or whatever, it might be difficult for them to see properly past a large vehicle. Do you have any concern or any, is that
Any of
reasonable?
any of the spots that I have seen with buses, they are back far enough that it would not, because we would back our buses in. It's not like we would be backing out into traffic, we would drive out. So there wouldn't be sort of the chance of one of us backing out and going, okay, I can't see. Primarily, it would be we back into our driveways, and that way there is no obstruction of view.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Kelly, so, just clarity. You leave home at 5:30 on any day, Monday morning.
Yep.
You drive to Guelph, pick up your bus, come back to Clifford, pick up kids, and take them to Minto Clifford or
Mount Forest.
Mount Forest. So you
Yeah.
take, so is it Catholic school or
Yes.
exactly? So,
Yeah.
so, okay. And then when you deliver your kids back to their home in the afternoon, you're expected to take your bus back to Guelph.
Well, actually, right now at the moment, what I'm having to do is drive to Guelph, get my bus, do my run, drive back to Guelph so that I can get my vehicle,
Right.
come home, then I'm having to drive back to Guelph to get my bus, do my run, go back to Guelph and come home.
Oh, wow.
And that, this is why I'm asking for this reconsideration, because for, like, for the $50 a day, that's it gone in fuel, right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So there's,
and
I
you're-
basically do it for free right now.
But your company doesn't wanna help you out in this.
No, they have said, do what you can.
Do what
See what you
can.
can,
Lovely.
see what you can find.
Ron?
I certainly understand that to be my concern too, and that's, I think that's a concern we have throughout the town, and in Miller Crescent, we have, for one, we've had a couple of people that park their trailers. And that the sight line, as you had spoke, was the problem. They couldn't see, wasn't the driver of the vehicle, it was the next door neighbor.
Yeah,
Would go into the street and couldn't see
Yeah.
a car coming, and there was a problem with that.
oh, yeah.
What, I'm wondering if the bylaw could be stated that if there is a sightline problem, that they not be allowed to park in that residential area.
Yeah.
For example, if you're on a corner, then you wouldn't be allowed to park your vehicle in that driveway. So it'd be sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Sightline approval or something.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, and then I want one, go ahead.
We can write anything that council wishes in the bylaw. So if it's your direction that we pursue this, we'd have to go through an amendment and a public meeting process.
Yeah,
Having dealt with a number of the complaints,
yeah,
it's not an uncommon provision, but having said that, having no other alternative other than to try and find an agricultural or industrial property to park on,
And which,
council may want to consider it, I don't know.
in regards to your agricultural comment, when it comes to plugging in the winter, That's one thing we would have to consider, and also, obviously, the farmer or whomever would want their payment for their hydro, as well as there's not many farmers that are gonna want to be out at, say, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to plow their laneway so that we can get out.
So, go ahead, Ron, I mean,
But if we were able to come up with a solution, you wouldn't have to leave at 5:30.
Exactly.
So, the farmer probably would be willing to move his snow if he didn't have to do it till 6:30 or 7.
It would ultimately depend on, even if we could find
Yeah.
a particular person that would say, yeah, we don't mind doing that.
I'll tell you what's gonna happen though, and Bill's pointed out the point, like, I mean, this would have to be, by the time we get through the public meeting and do everything else, you're talking probably, halfway through your season. What I'm really failing to understand here is why your company, one, you said they're down at Watts Feed Mill, that's not wide open, people could vandalize a bus there. If there was a way of having it around the arena or whatever, or someplace like that, why couldn't, even if they wanted to invest in a camera if they wanted to or whatever? I mean, is there an opportunity to talk to your, because you got 5, just not yourself, just 5, and it sounds like the 14, now, what company has the 14 at Watts? Was it Brenner?
Yeah.
Okay, Brenner. And they've created that for their people,
Yeah.
right? And your
Yeah.
company's out of Guelph.
Yeah.
They should come to us and ask if we can find a spot that work together.
Okay.
And that would be a lot better than trying to circumvent a bylaw that's gonna cause a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah.
You know, well, let's try that.
Okay.
Can we have Bill talk to, if you can give Bill the information of your company?
Okay.
And let's see if we can come up with some kind of solution that's easier
Yeah.
for you.
Okay.
But doesn't make us try to change a bylaw. It's gonna cause a bunch of problems, because you're gonna get people saying, well, if you can do a bus, why can't you do my tractor trailer and
Yeah.
all that stuff, and we're gonna get
Oh,
into all that.
absolutely, I completely understand that.
Can we work at that?
Yeah, sure.
So if you can get to Bill and, is
I'm
that all right
sorry,
with
through
everybody?
you, Mayor Bridge, I just wanted to ask, are there buses in Harrison with the same issue?
Oh, absolutely.
So you're
There are
dealing with more than
buses,
5.
Palmerston, Minto, and Clifford, that drivers are parking in their driveways.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one that's
Illegally.
seen this. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I've seen many, and we're just doing what we can to sort of help.
I understand your plight, Ellie, and we'll see if we
Yeah.
can come up with something. Is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
Yeah,
Ron?
I don't disagree with you, but I just want to say I commend Kelly for coming here.
Yeah.
She could have easily just parked her car in her
And
drive,
then we
or
have
bus in her
somebody
driveway,
complain
as does many vehicles across the town of Minto in different communities. Several times have we waited for a bus to park into their driveway going through Palmerston at different places. So
appreciate
I can count on my hand,
Mm-hmm.
5 of them when you walk around town that would park in their driveway.
One-
It's true, Dave.
One question I did have, I know that the police station in Palmerston has obviously been taken down and it has been seeded. Would that spot be an option?
That's not ours, it's county.
That's
Okay.
Yeah. But
Okay.
there's gotta be a place. But
Yeah.
Let's have a
Let's see
discussion.
if we
and-
Okay.
can work on that.
Okay, perfect,
Okay?
perfect, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good job.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right with that, Bill? Oh, that's big, I know.
And that's only,
Oh. Oh. I know,
that's only the start of it.
I know, dude.
You betcha.
Yep. All right, now we're pretty well on our own. Oh, no, we got stopped.
They've been so quiet back there, we didn't
know.
realize we were here.
I know, where are we? Okay, question period. No, we haven't got anybody. Okay, we got rid of everybody.
We could question.
Yeah, no, you can't. You got your turn later. Correspondence received for information requiring direction of council. Do we have any correspondence?
Just the one piece that came by email, I believe.
Yep.
Yep.
Is that all right? Everybody's all right with that? Do I need a motion? Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Faulkner. All in favor? Sorry. I'm just looking at you guys, so get your hands up.
You're fine.
E-agenda, none. And we just had, okay, committee minutes for receipt. We haven't got anything there. Staff reports.
Mayor Bridge, the
Building
month-
official.
monthly building stats are in for August. You can see we're at $10.5 million in 2014, approximately within 40,000 of last year. 4 single-family dwelling permits last month, and we're at a 13 in total. CBO mentioned this morning he had 4 more on his desk. So we're having a decent year, and hopefully that will continue on. That shows some of the commercial development going forward in the industrial park as well, that in front of the industrial park that started, so it should end up being a good year.
It is good.
Go on up.
Okay. Can I have a motion? Councilor Turton, Councilor Caldwell, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Severance. Peggy?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so the severance before you, B85/14, is for part lot 6 concession 13. And so the applicants are proposing to sever 1.1 acres of vacant land and retain 20.14 acres. And the retained acres has an existing house, garage, tool shed, and gazebo. And you'll notice by your map, it also has significant wetlands on the rear of the retained parcel. So staff met to review the application, and the road foreman noted that an entrance would be required to the severed parcel, and that it should be a problem to meet sight lines or entrance standards because there is a driveway on either side of the severed parcel. So to the right of that red box is the driveway to the building cluster, and to the left of that, on the retained parcel, there's another driveway to a solar panel. So the severed parcel meets the minimum lot coverage and road frontage requirements. And because it is a proposed new residential lot creation, the park levy fee would apply to this lot if it was created. And the county planner he has recommended conditional approval as long as the severed parcels can accommodate site servicing. And he also has noted that an environmental impact study to assess potential impacts and means of mitigation may be necessary to determine if the surrounding natural area would have an impact on the severance. So like I said earlier, the back portion of the retained parcel does have a significant wetland, but the severed parcel itself has no wetland to it. So the recommendation is that the Town of Minto Council support the application, and that the following conditions be considered: that all financial requirements are met to the satisfaction of the town, which would include the parkland dedication, and that prior to the consent, at the owner's expense, a safe entrance access would be obtained to the severed parcel to the satisfaction of the town. Is there any questions?
Questions? No, just the red part.
There, Bridge. That's quite an amazing picture. I mean,
It really is.
honestly, when you look at that picture, is it really like that in April or May? Is there really that much water there?
Where's Road? I bet you there is.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. No.
Well, this year. Yeah, this year.
That's
But then
amazing.
maybe a dry year, maybe not, right, Terry? But that, yeah. Okay, any questions? Motion to accept. Councilor Elliott. Councilor Turton, all in favor? Expect.
Okay. The next report
You're doing the trapping?
Yeah, I'm doing the trapping. The trapping, so we've had a request from David Herman he needs basically the town's permission to trap on open and unopened road allowances. And the other portion of the report is to also appoint him as the nuisance trapper for beavers for municipal drains.
I have one right now, so this is.
You have a beaver?
Yes, I have a beaver right now.
Okay, so you should let
And
Mike McIsaac know.
I will let him know. I just found out yesterday.
Okay.
Mayor Bridges, is this just housekeeping? Do we do this every year?
Yeah, well, yeah, we have to, because they have to have this to get their trapping license.
Right, like last year, it was 2 people, and this year, only 1 person has submitted.
Do we ever get a report from Mr. Herman in reference to the number of nuisance trapping that he does?
We don't, but that would be something that Mike McGuisett could provide for us.
Because he has to pay the $75.
Because he has to pay, it's actually, I should correct you on that, it's $65
No.
that we pay.
Mr. Hanson got his hand up, he might know.
He has, they bring the beaver tails in,
Mhm.
so we know that how many it costs.
Did you get to keep them? Because you don't want them to come in twice.
They notch them.
Sir.
Devious.
Groundhogs. Yeah,
You get a raccoon cat.
okay.
Or fuzz.
All right, they notched them,
Get a
okay.
raccoon
They,
hat.
they notch them,
Yeah.
yeah. So the recommendation, basically is that that the council, allows David Herman to
Yep.
trap on the open and unopened road allowances. And we've also put in there on the conditions, but at any time, if a trapper is approached, they do have to show their license, but we have set it out within that recommendation.
Great. Harry, you have a question?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Bridge. I think I ask this question every year, and I've forgotten the answer if I did, but we also have other wild animals that are classified as nuisances, like skunks and raccoons. Is this individual interested in providing that service as well?
I don't know the answer to that. I could check with him when he comes in to pick up his paperwork.
Well, we certainly get calls. I get calls all the time, and I don't know what to tell them, but it would be nice to be able to tell him to call Mr. Herman or somebody, and he'll look after the problem for you.
Okay.
Now, but we wouldn't be paying, the town wouldn't be paying that.
No, no.
But
Well,
Terry
even so,
said, but somebody we can
I
actually,
think some of them are willing to pay to
oh, I'm sure there are.
get the wild animal out of their backyard or under their porch.
So that would
or-
be the ratepayer, the taxpayer would be paying,
Well, I
is what
don't
you're
know.
saying,
I
or
mean,
you're?
I guess if he's willing to provide the service, then maybe we need to talk about how he's to be paid if he does provide the service.
Okay.
Yeah, in the past, we've had our dog catcher has done that, but on a rare occasion.
Rare occasion.
Yep. So moved by Councilor Faulkner, Deputy Mayor Fisk, and all in favor. Okay.
Okay, and the last report I have for you is the Harrison Kinsman Club road toll. They are conducting one on Sunday, September the 21st from 9 till 5. And this is a fundraiser for them, and as you know, they are a strong supporter in the community to sports groups and projects throughout the community. And so there is a bylaw in regular session to authorize the event to restrict traffic on Elora Street for the fundraiser.
Motion to accept. Deputy Mayor Fisk and Councilor Caldwell, all in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll turn it over to Councilor Caldwell.
Okay. And the Finance Committee only has one item on the agenda tonight. Yes, and that is the approval of accounts from September the 11th. So can I turn it over to Treasurer Duff, please?
Great, thanks, Chair Caldwell. Yeah, just the one item, but as you can see, we're kind of in the full swing of construction season and everything there. One interesting one under admin, this is the first year we've had to register all our generators with the Ministry of Environment, and that was about $8,300 to do that anyway. In economic development, we've spent $23,000, very visible, on building the road in the Palmerston Industrial Park. That's coming along. Fire department got their water rescue device for $4,100. Still doing tree removal, another $13,000, and cutting, and we're working away, as was mentioned earlier tonight, on the 16th line. We paid $164,000. I think the overall budget on that one was about $650, and we'd already spent some engineering. And another $37,000 on the inflow and infiltration work, primarily in Harrison, I think, these days. And our water meter project is proceeding very quickly. Another $158,000, and we're getting down to the final installs in both Harrison and Clifford too. And the Harrison Senior Station at the train station, they're working on the washrooms there, 16,000, and a little bit more in the Lions Park for 1,800. So you're starting to see some of these capital projects moving for sure.
So does anyone have any questions for Treasurer Duff? No? Then the recommendation is that Council of the Town of Minto receives the Treasurer's report dated September 11th, 2014, regarding approval of accounts and approves the Town of Minto accounts by department for September 2014. May I have Councillor Faulkner, seconded by Mayor Bridge. All in favor? And it is passed.
Thanks.
Thank you, Greg.
And I'll turn it back over to.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I'll ask Mr. Public Works Director, Mr. Brian Hanson, to come forward. We've got 4 items on the Public Works agenda this evening. First one being an agreement with Pike Lake in reference to sewage and water. So, Brian, would you, sorry, Bill, go ahead. Thank you. CAO
Chair,
Bill.
I guess I get this one.
Okay.
Pike Lake is in the process of renewing their certificates of approval for their various systems under the new protocols with the Ministry of Environment. In the permanent resident areas, they're asking for an agreement with the municipality regarding the ongoing operations of these systems should the current owner not be able to do that. I've attached the policy that goes back to 1995. I gather that this is not a brand new issue for previous councils here, except now that this is a formal requirement. I've spoken to our Public Works people. Brian and Mr. Bueller have looked at this and feel that the systems are at a point where we think we could take them over if worse came to worse. Very unlikely situation, but because it serves quite a number of ratepayers, and you can see the size of the areas that would be covered, we have no issues with moving forward with an agreement. We don't have the specific wording for it as of yet. We would like to get that for you and bring it back to you. One of the issues they talk about is requiring a letter of credit or security that we might hold. In the event we had to take this over, we haven't discussed that with the people of Pike Lake. I'm not sure that's something we want to do, but that is an option under the legislation. We have one benefit, and that is one of our employees in Public Works came from that area, and he has some familiarity with the systems. And I think that they're at a point now where I think we feel this is something we can recommend to you. So I spoke to Mr. Ben, and he indicated a resolution from council at this point would be sufficient.
Questions, Mayor, Councillor Faulkner?
Through you, Councillor Turton, would we have, what's the term I'm wanting for? Inspection rights? If we're going to accept liability for that, would we have the right to go out and really what you're going to guard yourself against is willful neglect?
If I may,
CAO White,
through you,
go ahead.
Mr. Chair, we would, including looking at financial records as well, if that would need be, but that would be in the terms of
That would be
the
in the term.
agreement.
Thank you, that's all.
But you would be able to go out and look at the financial, see if things are being set aside. Whether you want to go that far, I don't know, but certainly have the right to do that.
They're a very respectful company out there, and I'm not concerned about them, but if things happen in such a way where we got into that situation where we were worried, I just want to make sure that we have the right to do that.
Mayor Bridge?
Well, I think on that, the ministry would be inspecting it as they do now.
Like 3 times a year.
3 times a year, and if they indicate anything, because they know now we're going
That's
to
true.
be signing on, they'll be coming to us very quickly and
Yeah.
saying, you might want to get out there and have a look at this, because
Yeah,
now they haven't done
That's
what they're
correct,
supposed to
yeah.
do. So I would rather have them do the inspections than us do the inspections, but I
It would
understand
be
where you're
them, it
coming
wouldn't
from.
be
If we
us.
can get there, I mean, we'll get notification.
But
Yeah.
that would all that would have to be is a line in the.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Fisk?
Yeah, through you, Chairman Turton, it also mentions in here that the ministry would like us to assume responsibility for the water system. Up until now, we haven't had responsibility for that.
Again, this is under the same conditions that, what they're saying now is they want the sewage for sure. I believe that's what they are doing their C of A for, but they would also, like to have the municipalities backing for the communal water systems as well. So whether that ends up in the agreement or not, I can't say, but, I wouldn't wanna say it would never happen.
It might be a possibility, but I doubt very much they'll even see the sewage come forward. Highly unlikely.
Go ahead.
And I guess further to that, is our insurance company aware of this? Are they okay with us assuming this responsibility, or?
I have not advised our insurance company, I certainly can. As to what our liability is on that, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if we're assuming a water system and something happens to the water out there, like happened at Walkerton, then guess who's on the hook?
Yeah, we're not assuming the system, we're only entering it into an agreement that if it did, the owners failed to maintain it, that we would then have to go in. But you're correct, we would be on the hook would that happen.
Well, I think we need to have that information before we agree to it.
Question, CAO Bill, when Darrell, I mean, are they under the same DWQMS standards?
Yeah, they would be.
So, I mean, if they
Yeah.
take it as serious as Minto and a lot of other municipalities do, I mean, it's tough to get in trouble, but the possibility's there.
That's right.
I guess that's my concern as well. I mean, as you say, their respective families, they've been in the community a long time. But if the operation was sold, that would be my concern, is that we may not be lucky enough to get someone that feels as strongly as the counties do about the operation, and that would be a scary thing, and then we would be on the hook for it.
Mayor Bridge?
I think we're getting a little bit like, part of this is an assumption that they go under, that we have to take this over. We're not operating this. They're operating it. They still have to do all the rules and regulations with the ministry.
Correct.
If the and if there's a sale, we would have the opportunity, I believe, probably to say, again, if the person that takes it over we'd have to vent them to whether we wanted to be there. The ministry's looking at us saying, you're going to get it, and I'm not talking about the ones around that are not seasonal, the seasonal ones, because they're on a yearly lease. The seasonal ones, if for some reason they can't provide good potable water or whatever, or the ministry gets the rules are too tough to do, they just cut them off, and basically they don't have any seasonal anymore. We're going to end up one way or the other with the other ones, no different than Minto Pines or whatever. I mean, that was a well that was taken over by us. So I'm afraid that we're getting kind of in the weeds here a little bit. This is only in case, and this is a ministry guideline that they've now decided
That's
that
correct.
they want the township to say,
The
we would take it
chances-
over, and what are you gonna do with all those people that are out there in those permanent homes? You're gonna tell them, sorry, you don't have any water or sewer? We're gonna have, that's our responsibility anyways. We've been paying taxes all those years. So I don't wanna get into the fact that we're, you know, I think that's all this is, Bill, am I right? Or not?
Hey, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I'd like to, I mean, if your direction is that we are willing to consider this, then that's the direction I think we need.
And
Some
get in.
details are required in the agreement, and you would have every right to vet that agreement and approve it or not approve it
Sounds good, I'm satisfied.
before you're committed.
Yeah.
I guess the big question is, what if we say no? Anyways,
Well, then, I don't know.
right. Go ahead,
I agree with you, Chair Turton. It's not if they test the water, it's not if they must. And if
That's
they don't follow the regulations, and
We're shut
they'd
down.
be fools, and they would be fools to themselves if they sent in
That's
wrong
right.
tests and such like. And I don't think the scrutiny of those people taking the water test would allow that to happen. So I'm entirely confident that we're doing the right thing.
other questions? Hearing none, then the recommendation here is the council receives the CAO clerk's report dated September 12, 2014 regarding the municipal responsibility agreement for water and sewage services, Pike Lake, and that council approves in principle entering into an agreement to assume communal water and sewer systems servicing permanent residential areas in Pike Lake in the event of owners do not meet their obligations under the respective provincial approvals, subject to the final agreement details being returned to council for approval. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Elliott, Mayor Bridge. All in favor of that motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Second item on the agenda is the surplus equipment discussion.
Chair.
CAO White, thank you.
I presented in the report some of the background material you had when you considered this before, so we're just seeking your direction on what you'd like done with those two surplus items.
Questions? Deputy Mayor Fisk.
Yeah, through you, Chairman Turton. I guess, a couple of meetings ago, we talked about, when we transferred to the new lighting system, that we do still have some responsibilities with respect to poles, and I understand this new truck might be able to handle that, but I also, I think, remember that $8,400 was going to be budgeted every year towards looking after these poles, so I still believe that this truck has some use. I've spoken to some of the Public Works people, and there's the potential for emergency issues where that particular truck would be handy. Heaven forbid that we get into a situation like that, but if and when it happened, I'm guessing all the municipalities around here would be in the same boat, and they'd all be clamoring to get the same equipment, and there mightn't be enough equipment to go around. We have a truck here that, yes, I guess it costs a bit every year, but it might come in handy for a situation like that. So I understand it's costing us a wee bit of money, but I think that's, personally, I feel it's good insurance to have that service available when and if we need it.
Other questions? Councillor Elliott?
Question being, how long is that life of this, these vehicles? What do you see, and what kind of money do you see to upgrade it, or do you see us have to buy a new one to keep?
Well, eventually, this is a 93,
21 years old.
Yes?
so yeah. It's already at 21 years
So
old,
it's,
and
it's at its life?
yeah, well, I wouldn't say it's at its life, but it's getting fairly close. And I'd have to check the list, and I think Dave has when the replacement might be on that report,
140,000,
Yeah, well,
if you buy a new one.
if you buy a new one, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we could get secondhand and if you wanted to, like we've done in the past, I just asking.
I mean, the 140,000, I believe, was a figure we thought to get a decent used one now.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I don't think it was in the replacement study that was
Not
done
in
either.
that replacement study. The bills average about 10,000 a year, but it could be 3, it could be 20, depends on what goes.
Is it,
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
is there a possibility, I know the concern, I don't disagree with the deputy mayor about the need for emergency, but is it, if we needed it in an emergency, could we have somebody on contract, on standby, that we would get first shot at having a vehicle if we needed it?
Well,
If
we
were
already
in a
have,
ice storm and need to cut trees down, or?
we already have 2 people that, one's Wyatt Tree Service, I think the one is, and I'm not sure the other one. But they have guaranteed us that they'd be there if we have a bunch of trees that need to be looked after.
Could we put
And you
that
gotta
in?
remember too that if they're around hydro wires, we're not allowed to even go
I
close to
understand that,
them,
yep,
so,
certainly do.
yeah.
Yeah, and how,
So-
another question I have, staffing. If we continue to do this, we have right now, what, 1 full-time staff that can,
2
2?
full-time staff that are allowed to do it. I think one's up for training on it still, and Wayne still has his. And the 2 part-time guys, but
We pay for the,
they're retired.
we
and
pay for their training?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, we pay for it.
We pay for their training.
Yep.
If they, so that would be a cost too.
Yep. Well, they're pretty much wanna retire, like one's got a bad shoulder or arm or something, and so.
Counselor Faulkner?
Yeah, Public Works Director Brian, counting the ice storm that we had, do you have a figure in your head on how much we spent renting a bucket truck? Or I guess as part of the agreement with the tree cutting people, or perhaps Gord could help us out on
Gord will
that?
have more on it.
I understand that. Is there a way of breaking that down just so that we knew what the cost kind of would be to own versus contract?
I think, during these last storms, we did most of the groundwork and very minimal on the bucket, because we had it hired out to, we had a lot
Yeah,
of trees to.
I think you're right.
I may not be able to give exactly what you want, but we finally got the forms for the ice storm assistance.
Good.
And in that is listing of staff time, machine time, and it's
Yeah.
a huge thing that we just started to digest. So I can certainly bring that forward to you. That'll give you an idea of the December event anyway. And we can check the bills too, but I think they're all kind of like, this is what we did for
Yeah.
that week.
I know for sure that the number that we checked on the bucket truck for the amount of hours used up until last month was 31 hours in
Is that
total.
all?
Yeah, compared to 100
And
and
that's,
something
that's
last year.
including the ice storm that we went through.
No, that's this year.
That's
Last
just
year,
this year.
yeah. Last year it was 120 hours or something. It just drops every year, so.
Mr.
Yes, go ahead.
Chair,
Counselor
I
Faulkner.
totally understand and in a way support Deputy Mayor Fisk on that. Is there a way, is there an urgency to this? Can we defer this so that we can get more figures on cost and?
Mr.
Go
Chair,
ahead,
there's no
COA.
urgency, it's really up to council. I think the figures are there.
I think, correct me
Yes,
if I'm
go
wrong,
ahead,
it
Mayor
never
Vic.
got sold in the sale because what's our, well, I don't wanna maybe say
Reserve.
reserve bid on it, but I wanna say it
What's
because.
this in here?
Does it say in there, okay,
Yeah,
we're not gonna let the cat out of the bag then for the next guy that wants to
No,
reserve
that's
bid?
why I.
It's 15 grand, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Sorry, pardon me, just poked me.
So
Go
15
ahead,
grand.
That was
Counselor
my
Caldwell.
question, is that you did have a reserve bid on these two pieces
Didn't
of
go.
yes, that's
equipment.
correct.
It didn't sell.
I wasn't
So
giving
the
them away.
next step is to take them into an auction?
That would be our next step, yes.
And do
Wow.
you
If-
foresee, getting anywhere near these minimum bids in an auction?
You know, I'm not really sure on the bucket truck issue or the sweeper issue because I've never dealt with that.
Would you have
So-
minimum bids as well in an auction?
Definitely,
Okay. So I mean, they may not go for that
rush.
reason,
yeah.
but, and I agree, I can see, Deputy Mayor Fisk's reasoning, but I do have a concern that a 21-year-old vehicle, would it be there for us anyway if we really needed it without spending a fair bit of money on it to bring it to park? I mean, we'd have to keep spending money on it all the time
To upkeep.
to upkeep it, and then when we really needed it, and it's that age, could we really count on it?
Go ahead.
Just one final comment I'll make, and I don't have a problem one way or the other holding on to the bucket truck now because it's there. But I guess your recommendation was not to have a bucket truck in your fleet because you don't have it in your management style. So, and if, to spend 140,000 for 30 to 100 hours wouldn't be make sense. So, going forward, you don't foresee us having a bucket truck if this one died on us.
That's correct.
But if it works for a while, so be it, we have it there as a backup.
You bet.
That makes sense?
I'm not gonna let it go for,
But we're not necessarily having it in our fleet, because if we still had the street lighting, we need it, but because we've got the
LAS is in for 10
LES
years.
says we got
yeah.
10 years, and we're putting money away, Gorda, we're putting money away at about a,
We have 11,000, and just as a matter of interest, that the lighting project is gonna happen in about 4 to 6 weeks.
yeah. So we're hoping by the end of 10 years to have, what, 500,000?
Yeah,
by the time, so that would be, you know, if we have to get back into the business, then maybe that's the time for the next council, well, I won't be here, for the next council to look at it. But, you know, you might have to have a bucket truck again, because you'd have to be back to doing maintenance, but I have no problem with it staying in the fleet for now, and if we need it, whatever.
Councillor Ivey?
I might need staff direction for this, but we have a motion on the floor to sell these vehicles, the sweeper and the, as well as,
The surplus.
is that correct?
Oh,
How,
you gave direction that they were
you
considered
gave
surplus.
direction, or was there a motion?
It was by, made the whole and approved motion.
Yeah, so it was a motion?
But we don't have to sell them right now. if we
No, I'm
wanna
just,
hold them.
I'm just going on what the correct procedure is. So therefore, to not move, for staff not to move in that direction, you'd have to have a 2/3 council vote to even bring it back to the floor?
I think the council's just saying, hold on for now, so
Okay,
we're just taking our time.
but if we were to make that decision not to sell?
If you wanna give a notice of motion that we reconsider it, then you could do that too.
Okay, thank you.
So, Brian, if there was an emergency tonight, is it up to standards to go on the road right now?
Yes,
So it's been tested and
yep.
it's got the
It's gone
stamp
through its
approval?
testing and that,
Yep.
I'm not sure when the next one is, but I can find that out.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
fine. Other questions? Any other questions, Deputy Mayor Fisk?
Just a point of clarification, my point isn't that we're, in the future, going to replace this truck. All I'm asking is that we consider keeping it until
Yeah.
it's done.
Runs its course?
Yeah, that's,
And
yeah.
then so be it. But
Okay.
I'm not in favor of spending $140,000 down the road to
How do we proceed? Do we need a motion to alter this? Go ahead, CAOA?
Well, that's just a recommendation to you. It's asking for your direction. We also need your direction on the sweeper.
All right, is anybody prepared to put something forward? Go ahead, Brian.
Actually, 2 sweepers. One is actually junk, if we could get that one gone, because
Scrap.
it's crap. Yeah.
Well, my understanding, we're gonna just scrap that. I'm hoping you're not gonna ask us to keep that one.
No.
No,
But the other
but
ones
it was
are-
left, so I thought,
We're gonna just do that. but-
yeah.
I just wondered if on an annual basis you could estimate the cost of maintaining a bucket truck.
Well, it's in the, right there.
It says of $10,000 in the last 6 years. So is that,
But the problem is, if,
it's now that much older, would, in
yeah,
order to
if
keep it
something
in running,
happens,
the
it could be an
condition.
engine problem or a transmission problem, then I'd have to probably bring it back to
Yeah,
council and
just bring it
say,
back to council and say,
it's gonna cost 20,000 or 25,000 to repair, or you wanna, what do you want to do?
Okay,
That's right.
That, Mr. Chair, if I may, that's the nature of the repairs on all these vehicles. It's 13,000, it's 23,000, it's 2,000 year to year to year. So the 10 is an average roughly.
What's your preference? Go ahead,
I
Councilor.
suggest we get our money when we can, sell it. We're gonna, what's the use of holding on to it for 30 hours, and if we can make some money right now and put it back in our coffers for needed vehicles, then that's my recommendation.
Are you recommending that, or are you making that a motion?
I could make that a motion.
Okay. We have a seconder for that? Councilor Caldwell? Okay. Everybody understand that, go ahead.
Both pieces of equipment then? Sweeper too, or
Yes, I would, that sweeper also with that.
sweeper in the bucket truck, okay?
Okay. Ron, is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's correct.
Councilor Caldwell, you're seconding it? All right. Everybody understand the motion, that we're gonna, again, go ahead and put these on the auction block and get rid of them? All in favor of the motion? Against? Can we do that again?
did you not take the count?
I didn't, sorry. All in favor of the motion, one more time. That's 3, against. That's 2. The motion carries.
Vote on it, so.
Okay, motion carries, correct?
Oh, Mr. Mayorbridge did not vote. You're abstaining?
Well, I guess.
There's no
I
vote.
wasn't sure if it would be a tie on that one. I guess I could have voted. I'll vote for it.
Oh,
You're
you're
voting for it being-
Yeah.
That's 4-2.
So it's 4-2, so that's
It's
carried.
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 Thank you.
No, I just, I didn't know if I had to break the tie.
So the third item on the agenda tonight is the sidewalks. Can we ask our Melinda to come up? Or is,
Yeah, we can do
It's a
that.
tag team.
it's a tag team, our Public Works Director And, go ahead, who's gonna speak on this, you guys?
Doesn't happen a lot, does it?
Well, in June of 2014, the town received a letter from the Norwell District Secondary School students, Katie Miller and Sean Hessels. And they had a couple highlight, two issues in their letter that they're addressing was for sidewalks on Maxey Lane, Old 81 Grand Trunk and Prospect Street. They don't have sidewalks, and adding a sidewalk, in particular, rubber sidewalk. So, at the last meeting, the council asked that we bring a report forward. And,
Can I ask you just a quick question?
Go ahead, Mayor Bridge.
Define what I've been reading the report, it doesn't really talk about a rubber sidewalk, what it is. Is it, instead of a concrete?
it's recycled rubber
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what,
that
yeah.
they use for sidewalks.
But not like a track, like they use
No.
them in, you know, it's, okay,
No,
Like that, wasn't it?
yeah, and it's expensive,
okay.
Questions?
and it's resistant
Or-
to cracks. Yeah, go for the questions, because
Belinda, do you wanna add something?
No, not really. I'm usually known as the branding police, but I guess I'm the walkable communities police too. So I'm just here to support Brian.
Did I see in here somewhere, that the rubber sidewalk was 1.5 times?
Yeah, yeah, that's why I wondered, I thought, boy, does it help my knees? Because if that's the case, maybe.
Questions on this? Go ahead, CAO White.
Mr. Chair, having walked the full route of the Terry Fox Run, not twice, just the one time.
Oh, you're right.
We were able to experience the sidewalks firsthand, and I think any of you who did that saw the issue that we face, and that's the number of 4-foot sidewalks we have that have to be replaced. So I think it was wonderful that we had the letter. It made us think about that. We've been in touch with the two students to let them know that this is still an ongoing issue. We are a walkable community, but we really, as a municipality, have to look at what we're going to do. If we've got 42 kilometers of sidewalk and we're only doing a half a kilometer a year, we won't have them replaced for 80 years. So that's an issue that we need to look at in the coming years with council at budget time. I think we've got a lot of work to do in that area. Aside from that, we need to decide whether we want curb and gutter with all our replaced streets. And so the important thing is we get them in when the developers build, and we are doing that. The other thing is we're upgrading to the county accessibility standard so that it's suitable for all people of all abilities and wheelchairs and scooters and all those things. So I certainly don't recommend that you do sidewalks on the streets that they've asked for, unfortunately, but the collector arterial roads that lead up to there, we should be doing those sidewalks.
Questions? Deputy Mayor Fisk.
The three mentioned there that do not have sidewalks, Tuffy McDougall Drives, Milton Siler, and Miller Crescent. Those plans were approved without sidewalks by council of the day, I'm assuming.
I was part of that day.
And any regrets of having approved that? No? What's it like in there when we have snowbanks and,
I wouldn't know, other than I've never had any complaints, and it's very slow going around there. Nobody drives like crazy. It's because it's
Nice and wide.
a short area to get through, so.
Mr. Chair, and I think that's an excellent point to discuss, is that most subdivisions like that do not have sidewalks in them in most all communities. The interior local cul-de-sacs and streets like that, crescents, there is a provision in the subdivision agreement for Milton Siler, we heard today, for a sidewalk to go in that has not gone in. So the report was not quite correct. It is not there now, but apparently it is in the development agreement for that site to have one. But
There is this trail that goes back between the houses back into the school.
Right.
It doesn't even go on a road, so that gets everybody off of Miller Crescent. Sorry.
Mayor Bridge.
Just another point on this, and I think we're moving in the right direction to identify the need for being a walkable community. And I sit on public health as well for Wellington, Guelph, Dufferin. Dr. Mercer had, just the last meeting we had a discussion on, from a public health standpoint, about walkable communities and being active and whatnot. And part of their concern, and they're going to actually have a planning, it'll be just a recommendation of planning to subdivisions. One of the big problems they have in the city is they get locked up. And I think, Ron, what you said, at least on there, we have a walkway out of the subdivision so they can walk to school or connect. And I think that's what we have to maybe be very careful about too. We don't have that much big development, but same token that we keep those connecting links there and try our best to have at least on one side, if not both sides, where we have high traffic. And where we haven't been able to do that, I mean, we had one situation that we ended up putting a stop sign to slow people down because in the wintertime, they had to walk on the road. I get flack on that all the time from a certain individual that drives his tractor into town, and I have to listen to it every time I see him about that. But at the same token, we react when we can. And I think, Belinda, you can be a spokesman, and from an economic development standpoint, you know what it makes. It's quality of life, it's what we do, and that's why people move. So I'm hoping, Gord, too, that maybe what we can get is, as we move forward with this new infrastructure process that we've got from the feds and the province, some of it might be able to work some of this in. I don't know.
As I say, I think you really have to put it in the
Yeah, well, for sure, when we get new developments, yeah. But is there going to be anything on replacing what we've got?
In our application, yes, there is.
Okay, good. So I think we have to be looking at that going forward the next 10 years.
Sure.
Councillor Elliott.
A concern I have too is the two Tim Hortons, the one new and the one, you'll be guaranteed there'll be a lot of student, I'm sure in Harrison there is already, traveling out there by either bicycle or by, probably by walking.
I think in
there's no sidewalk.
phase 3 of that project, it is included to go up to Tim Hortons in Harrison.
Okay, in Palmerston, you have no goal to put a sidewalk to.
It only goes as far as what,
I think it
corner?
goes right to the edge of town, right to the
Yep.
edge of Dunker Scoots there.
Yep.
Yep.
So, that may be something you could add to your list, maybe. I
That's-
think there's gonna be at least, you'll have probably 30 students working there at the time.
We've already had people commenting on our Facebook page about a sidewalk going out to Tim Hortons and Palmerston. That's already been a concern that people have raised.
Yep.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
CEO White.
On the
Chair.
list.
Just thinking, our recommendation is that sidewalks in these areas come forward to the budget and that our reconstruction policies be reviewed. I'm just wondering, is it possible to rejuvenate a 4-foot sidewalk with a additional on the side, or is that out of the question?
No,
It has to come right out?
yeah, it'll have to come right out to be properly installed. And like you said in the report here, we're gonna add to the granular base on them when we have been, which makes that even more solid sidewalks, so. We've addressed one issue and we'll add it to the policy.
Other questions? So the recommendation here is that the council receive and supports this information report from the Public Works Director and the Business Economic Manager in regards to the sidewalks in subdivisions dated September 10th, 2014, and that increased sidewalks in Prospect Street from the Clare Ridge Estates west of the school to be considered in the 2015 budget, and further, that the town sidewalk and road reconstruction policies be reviewed. Can I have a motion and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Elliott.
Carries right here.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor Fisk. All in favor of the motion? Against?
I'm in favor.
Thank you, that's carried. Last item on the agenda
I just didn't hear.
is, oh, it's not mine? Sorry?
No.
Pardon me? I'll
Thank
pass
you.
the chair back
Thank you,
to our
Councillor
mayor.
Strickland.
Thank you very much.
And Belinda's already up here, so I'll just turn it over to Belinda. Good news story.
Sure, yep. So I guess this is kind of a perfect story for business retention and expansion.
Perfect storm.
Can't write it any better than this. When I got back from mat leave, I've been working with Jason from Tucker Industries on helping him to expand into the Palmerston Industrial Park. So as you know, and as the report says, we brought this forward back in May, I think, to closed session at council, and we had to look into a few things, and those have all been addressed. So we're just basically bringing that back, and they're ready to roll, and we're looking at a quick 30-day closing so they can start building in October. So all the details are there, and if you have any questions, I can answer those, but it's pretty straightforward.
Good.
Questions? Can't find it.
I've read it.
I don't think we got it.
But maybe I didn't.
Email, wasn't it?
It's on email.
Was that just an email?
And it's just email.
It's an email
This is by email, and then it should be one on your desk.
on here. I didn't see mine.
Do you want me to verbally
Yeah,
go
just
through it?
just go through it a little
Go
bit.
through the report?
Yeah.
Okay.
Email.
Sure, okay. So,
Straightforward.
I guess, the Palmerston Industrial
Yep,
Park.
we got it.
If you're familiar with where MSW Plastics and Ideal
Yep.
Supply are located, Tucker Industries is looking at the lot right beside it, which we call Lot 5, and they're also looking at first right of refusal on Lot 4, which is adjacent to that. They're both about 3-acre properties. The purchase price is $15,000 an acre, which is our asking price. They'll be doing a $2,250 deposit. They are responsible for installing the water and sanitary sewer laterals at their cost with a pump inside the building to direct sewage from the site to the town's main. That's the issue that we were working on. The lot coverage, we usually say 15% lot coverage. They are going to be building a 10 to 12,000 square foot building, so that works out to about 7%. The reason I'm okay with that is because they don't need a huge building to do what they do, but they need room for truck traffic and staging. And like I said, they're going to be building within 30 days, so we don't really need to worry too much about the whole year to build because they're getting started right away. And that's about it. So.
Fantastic.
Mayor Bridge?
Yes.
How often do we waive or alter that? How often can you remember? Like, I mean, I don't think
We've
it's a big
waived it
deal
with
either.
Farm Fresh.
Right.
Because that was like a future expansion
Perfect.
thing.
And this one could likely fit into that category.
Yes, because and they want first right of refusal if they do on Lot 4, if they do expand. I'm trying to think. Yeah,
Tim Hortons.
yeah.
And I think the other thing is, I
That's
mean,
highway commercial, maybe
this
it's
is a
different.
business that wants to stay.
Yes, yeah, and we want them to stay.
Well,
And
and
not
we-
only that, they'd be consolidating.
They'll be
and-
consolidating, that's more jobs over
And
there.
expanding, and they'd be doubling their workforce, and we want them to stay here.
And I mean, it's not like we're bending the rule here, something that we've never done before. It's
Oh, yeah, we're
kind
not
of
setting a precedent.
part of doing business.
Mhm.
So,
Good business.
Any other questions? Motion to accept. Councilor Elliott, Councilor Faulkner, all in favor?
Perfect,
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks,
Another
Brenda.
sale. Busy out there. Okay, we're back to, I believe, other businesses disclosed items, and I'll start off with, okay, Terry, you want to start?
Yeah. This week, the Palmerston Hospital is going through the accreditation process. I was involved in a session this afternoon. Report from staff and senior management is things are going extremely well. The last accreditation, they were accredited for 3 years. We're hoping that this time it'll be a 4-year accreditation, which is the maximum you can get. The other thing is the transformer that was struck by lightning in Palmerston. I'm just wondering, was there any structural damage to it as far as leakage? We know what's going on just north of town with a cleanup of material that has leaked from that transformer that wasn't struck by lightning. So I'm just wondering.
I haven't heard anything. Have you?
Mayor Bridge, our fire chief, our fire people were there almost immediately. I had not been advised that there was any leakage. If there were, that would be a spill that would have to be reported, but I will confirm that there was none.
And just on that, I would have, one of the reasons that we only had 8-hour delay was, as you know, West Ontario actually twinned that just recently, so that's why it was only 8-hour delay. You could have been down a week if they had not foreseen the fact that if they lost that one transformer, so I give them a little credit for that, that they put the investment in. But I assume they would have to have, all that would be, all the facilities would be looked at the time. But that really, I think people have to realize that was foreseen the fact that it was sitting out there kind of alone if you ever lost that one. And for a big place like TG Minto, that's very important. And so give kudos to West Ontario. Sometimes we get on them, but that was a good thing that they put that in. And that was why we were able to get back up in 8 hours. Good point, though, Terry.
Mayor Rich, do you think that the lightning is getting stronger? Because I'll tell you a little story, pardon me, but at Rosse, we have 3 44,000 volt lines feeding the plant, and one was severed by lightning.
By lightning? Wow. Well, all storms are getting more violent.
It's a half an inch thick with a solid core in the middle.
Well,
I don't know. We're getting all kinds of storms,
That,
for sure.
and, you know, some of the guys that fixed it, 46, 47 years in the business, never seen it before.
Anything else, Terry? Is that? And Terry, just a question on accreditation. Can you help me with this? And I know one of the things that they were concerned with if we didn't get the medical center was that we had to move stuff out for the accreditation. That isn't a problem?
No, it's,
Okay.
actually, even when the medical center's there, it won't be part of the accreditation.
No, it
process.
won't be, but I thought they needed to free up some space or take some of the pain clinics out of there because maybe that's just more.
No, I think the biggest problem we're going to see with the results is, I've been there almost 4 years and we've been struggling with IT and compatibility, and we've relied on Guelph General to provide the service, and they're not providing very good service, and we're still no further ahead, and it's a major problem. I mean, we've got e-health that we can't participate in.
So is
right
that
now.
part of that 2.2 million they're getting from the county? Is that going to be part of that?
Well, we haven't
Decided how
discussed
you're
that,
spending that, okay.
how that's to
All
be
right.
spent, but it's a major problem, and it just seems to hang on. Things never happen quickly with the Ministry of Health for some
No, they
reason.
seem to be.
We started digging, when are we starting to dig?
We haven't even awarded the contract, so.
Money is there.
Okay. Ron, and then which Ron? Are you both Rons?
eventually I'll talk.
Oh, okay, Ron first. Ron Faulkner first.
Okay, first of all, the only thing I have is, this was the first day of the 2015 International Plow Match, or 14, sorry, and we are hosting in 16. We had a tremendous response. One of the things, I've already made 4 pages of notes on how to do things different and what was done right. So just if any the counselors would like to go, please just get a hold of me, and I have some parking passes and admission tickets that you may use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I'm thinking that a lot of us were, when we were down in Emo, we talked to the group of, from Fairmore, I believe the name was, in reference to compressed natural gas, running that compressed natural gas in our trucks.
I left it for you.
On October 1st, we're having Nick Hendry come to the Public Works meeting at around 3 o'clock. Anybody that's interested. I'm not sure whether your office is big enough, if we have people.
You have it over here.
move in. So, on behalf of Brian and his crew, it's a formal invitation to anybody that wants to come.
What's the date again? What's the date?
October 1.
We'll send out a reminder.
Wednesday
An email,
afternoon.
Brian, to us, please.
Wednesday afternoon, 3.
And after I came back, I went in, popped into Leslie's, and they're quite familiar with it as well, so.
Yep.
I think they had the same chap that talked.
Hey, we got this new facility over here,
Right.
and it is the wave of the future.
Yep. And if we can do it.
Because they've just found new wells of natural gas, so.
Okay, we'll have a look at it and go from there. Okay, Ron.
just a little note about our Lions Club, this weekend in Palmerston.
Fifth.
Is hosting its 75th anniversary, and big deal for us. We've got international director coming from Calgary. Patty Hill's her name. Phenomenal person, phenomenal lion, humanitarian. She's going to be probably the next president of international director in Canada. There's only been 2 other ones, and she'll be the third and the first woman to hold that position. It's quite a coup for us to be able to have someone like that, of that quality, come into our community. That's part of the reason I was a little late. I was in scrubbing our clubhouse all day today until 5:30, and realized I had to hustle home and get changed and come up here. And as part of that, we're going to showcase our park and everything with people that are coming from other Lions Clubs and across the whole district that are coming in, and we're going to showcase our park. And Brian Hansen's group today come in and did some
Saw
work,
them today.
cleaned some work up, and did a great job. I just want to say about the park with Brian's group and Public Works and Recreation, we've had nothing but a great support and a great partnership, and it showed up today. I just made one call and asked if they could help us clean up an area that needed cleaned up, which is part of the town's property too. And they showed up and did a great job, and I talked to the guys, and they were happy to do it. They were genuinely proud of the work they were doing. So I was very happy, and I thank the town for the support they do. Appreciate it. And hopefully this weekend goes very well.
We'll be there.
Supposed to be nice weather. Yes, I hear you.
Good. Dave, you have another one? I'm not allowing you to have another, but that's all
Sorry.
right. Are you getting a text in?
No. 2 things, actually. The Theater Guild is
Yes.
in Hairston, and you're gonna talk about that. The other thing, we had a meeting down in the ballpark in Hairston last night, and the Jeff Davey Memorial Group is gonna go ahead and put in, that was at Bolzo a couple of years ago, to put in that one.
Okay. Oh, good.
So,
Put in a warning track.
In the outfield?
And, Brian has agreed to accept the topsoil and stockpile it somewhere, so that's gonna happen very quick.
Good. What are their proceeds from?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Not gonna
Excellent.
cost you anything.
No, that's good, because, we like to support them, and they support us in the past.
Yeah, and so it's gonna be a lot of volunteer.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe ones. There's gonna be some volunteers helping.
Good, okay. And I've just got a couple quick ones. One, I will get another memo sent out, Peggy, if we can get yourself or Annaline to send out another notice on the anniversary for the Theater Guild. They're kind of desperate to get a few more. I think what happens sometimes is people think it's just for the Theater Guild, and it's a celebration, and people don't think if you're not in the Theater Guild, you can't come to the dinner. So I think you want to get it out there. So I'll send it out to you guys and let you know about it again, and to the staff, so to try to promote that a little bit. The one thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit of excitement that we had down at the county today, and I'm so proud of this because, and unfortunately Belinda's gone. I was going to pump her up a bit too, but and you probably heard about it, the AA+ rating for the county as far as credit. But what you maybe don't realize is this is the summary. This is the summary report, and the big one's 300 pages long. This Standard and Poor's. I mean, they don't do these things very, as you know, Mary Lou. And this puts us the #1 municipality in Ontario from a county level for credit rating, and we're only behind 8 other cities in Canada that have AAA. 8, and has AAA credit ratings. So this is an amazing feat, and what it has in the report, it shows, and I'll get maybe a summary of this out. Maybe send out the little list there, Gord, where it shows. Yeah, that one, the one I'm talking about. Yeah, if you can send out to the council, I think it's very important for them to see it. but where we've grown over the years, and in the last few years, a lot of it's because of economic development, and they've said right in here, the reason we went up the extra plus was the fact that we've taken that reliance away from that just solely being relying on agriculture and manufacturing in Wellington County, because the diversity of what we're trying to create from an economic development standpoint, that they've taken that right out of the picture. That isn't a problem anymore. They see us diversifying, our strength is there, and all the stuff we've been doing in economic development has made us jump up to that plus. And it's roughly, right now, I think I asked the treasurer today at AF&P what that means as far as dollars and cents. And we can get 10-year money at around 2.7% now, which will be great for when we got to go borrow that $1 million for the foundation or for the medical center, because they'll get a rate that's phenomenal. And if we need to go out and borrow based on some of our needs, when we were down at AMO, I was at one of the sessions, and they talked about the fact that they leveraged their gas tax. Instead of us saying, you know, when we always sat there and we get $250,000 for the provincial, the federal gas tax, and maybe we get 100 and some thousand on this new one, that's guaranteed over the 10 years. Maybe we can leverage that and use that as sort of mortgage payments. And what they did in Peel for their big garbage was a $48 million build for their big garbage plant that they turned garbage into energy. They basically took their gas tax, and that paid the mortgage off over 15 years. So you know what I'm saying, Mary Lou, we can maybe take a lot more of our, like make that $1 million or so or $2 million rather than try to save it up and put it in one bridge. So that's something we can look at from a budgetary standpoint. But having that credit rating really will help, because again, if we borrow from the county, that would work. And then, you know, I get it all the time about other counties around us that don't have development charges and they're not in a good financial position, like Gray and Bruce and Perth. Well, guess what? They can't borrow individually. As a county, they have to go out in the market. They can't borrow like we can borrow right in the market. Am I right, Gord? And they have to use other third-party borrowings because they don't have a credit rating, because they haven't gone up to this extent to get a credit rating. So I'm proud of the county and what they've done on that, and a lot of it's to do with economic development. We're a leader in economic development in the county, and they all accept that in Minto. So,
Which was led by the town of Minto.
right, exactly, exactly. If Rick was here, he'd go, yeah, right. Anyways, that's all I have. Moved by, who is this? D.
Turton.
Oh, Turton.
Thanks a
It's initialed now. I mean, moved by Turton, second by Councillor Faulkner, that the committee of the whole convenes at a regular council. All in favor? He's not even putting his whole name in there anymore.
Mr. T.
Is that fair? Moved by Councillor Faulkner, second by Deputy Mayor Fisk, that the Council of Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the committee of the whole. All in favor? Opposed?
Yeah, I'm gonna vote yes.
Being
Not
Rick.
sure who you are.
Moved by Councillor Turton, second by Councillor Colwell, that the bylaw number 2014-48 being the bylaw to provisionally adopt the report prepared by Dietrich Engineering dated June 20th, 2014 under Section 4 of the Drainage Act, Municipal Drain 37-2014, lots 28-29, Concession 3, parts lots 27-31, Concession 4, part lots 29-32, Concession 5, Town of Minto be introduced and read in the third time and passed the open council and sealed with seal of corporation. All in favor? Moved by Deputy Mayor Fisk, second by Councillor Faulkner, the bylaw number 2014-49 being the bylaw to provisionally adopt the report prepared by Dietrich Engineering Limited dated June the 20th, 2014 under Section 4 of the Drainage Act, Municipal Drain 115-2014, part lots 15-18, Concession 1, Town of Minto, part lots 12-14, Concession 11, Municipality of North Perth be introduced and read in third time and passed open council seal of the corporation. All in favor? Okay. Moved by Council Turton, second by Deputy Mayor Fisk, the bylaw number 2014-65 being the bylaw to authorize the mayor and the CAO clerk to permit the Harrison Kinsman Club to restrict traffic on Laura Street at Arthur Street in Harrison for the purpose of conducting a fundraising roll toll on Sunday, September 21st, 2014, being between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. be introduced and read first and third, second and third time and passed over to council, sealed to seal the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Caldwell, second by D. Turton. Councillor Turton. See, he's all over the place here. That bylaw number 2014-66 being the bylaw to authorize the mayor and the CAO clerk to execute the servicing agreement with Clare Ridge Estates, Dan Sinclair, for property located at York Street, Palmerston, be introduced, read first, second, and third time and passed over to council, sealed to seal the corporation. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Faulkner, second by Deputy Mayor Fisk, the bylaw number 2014-67 being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the September 16, 2014 committee and council meeting be introduced and read in first, second, and third time and passed over to council, sealed to seal the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Faulkner, second by Councillor Turton, the Council of Town of Minto adjourned to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor?
Right on.
Thank you. Good meeting, everybody. Thank you very much.